Good evening from Swansea wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are listening to Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, your one-stop shop for pro wrestling insight, news, and reviews on a daily basis. Last night was WWE SummerSlam, the biggest party of the summer in WWE, and it was a really, really great show in my opinion. But we had some complaints, we have some praises, and we're going to get into all of them today on the show. But firstly, I'm wearing my Arsenal shirt today, so you guys know I'm giving Arsenal a shout out because Arsenal defeated Manchester City to win the Community Shield. This season, we're going to win the big one. We're going to win the Premier League. I'm calling it on this show now. It's going to happen. But now let's get straight into wrestling. And let me introduce the co-host of the show, Clark Taylor. How are you, Clark?
I'm doing well, Ben. Not as well as you, but congratulations and go Gunners. I know. Shout out my cousin Trevor and also Carter, fellow Arsenal fans. That's a big win, but I'm stoked to be here. SummerSlam was outstanding. Can't wait to get into it. And let's get right to it.
Absolutely. Also joining us, we have the man who reviewed SummerSlam for Wrestling Republic yesterday, giving it a 4.25 star rating on the WR scale. And that man is the head of reviews, Coby Galenzoski. How are you, Coby?
What's going on? Like you said, this is post SummerSlam. This is the Wrestling Republic Daily. Like we are always here every day. At the end of the day, like you said, there's complaints, there's praises, there's a lot of points we can talk about. We're probably never going to hit all of them on one show, but at the end of the day, whether you like it or not, SummerSlam was always going to be a success, and it truly, truly was.
Absolutely. It was the highest grossing non-WrestleMania event of all time for WWE. Congratulations to them. I always say it, I always will. I love it when a company is doing good business because when one company in wrestling is thriving, the whole of wrestling is thriving. But also joining us, we have Chaos. How are you, Chaos?
What's up, everybody? Happy Sunday, everyone. Congrats to Arsenal. I'd rather them winning instead of Man City because I'm a Man United fan. So thank you for doing the work. That's one trophy down. I don't know if you're gonna win the Premier League. That's a tall order, but we'll see how it goes. Going back on the SummerSlam, which we're all here for. Very solid show. It's been a while since that we've seen fans be divided, probably since Mania, the way that it's been going on. But obviously we'll all give our twos on each match and everything else. And without further ado, let's get to it.
Absolutely. And actually, now you've compared it to Mania, the ending did actually feel very similar to WrestleMania in terms of the reaction from fans. And at WrestleMania, if it went the way which it did, that I would have predicted that. But the outcry from fans after this show, well, it surprised me to say the least. But we're going to get into that and more today. But firstly, let's talk about the match which opened SummerSlam. Let's talk about the social media megastar, the Maverick, Logan Paul, who took on Ricochet in the opening contest at SummerSlam. And quite a few of us here at Wrestling Republic were doing, a watch-along together. We were on Zoom watching it. And we all said the same thing, right? Logan Paul really annoys us, and he annoys us for one reason. He's just really good at things, and you almost don't want him to be. He's just automatically really talented, and it was a great match. There was, a couple of small botches with him and Ricochet, but they recovered them really well. A fantastic opener to the show. I think this was the perfect choice to open the show, but in reality, the reason that it was done was because, Logan Paul had to then fly over to Texas to go and see Jake Paul beat Nate Diaz in the boxing as well. So Logan Paul had a busy night, and he walked to the ring with Jake Paul in the boxing wearing his WWE gear as well. So that's certainly a unique moment to say the very least. But Chaos, give me your thoughts on the opening bout.
It was very a very solid opener. I had a feeling this was going to be the first match because I think I read somewhere that he wants to be, he wants to be there for his brother's match.
Yeah.
So he did request to go first. I mean, the first match really usually has to set the tone for the rest of the night. And I felt that they pretty much delivered it. I agree with your thoughts about Logan Paul. Is he he kind of reminds me, he kind of reminds me of Kanye West. Like, you hate him as a person, but you respect his craft, like what he does. And that's the thing. Controversial guy, completely hate him as a person, but yeah, when it comes to wrestling, or with Kanye West, when it comes to his music, he handles it. He does quite well. This match delivered. I agree. There was a couple sloppy moments. I think there was like the outside Spanish fly that didn't really connect. But like you said, they recovered it well, and it didn't take any momentum away from the match. The right person won. Logan Paul needed a W at some point because I think he's on a 3-match losing skid right now. And he's trying to do his own Undertaker streak right now. He's 2-0 at SummerSlam. So and both matches have delivered at SummerSlam. So I'm fine with the finish. I don't know who that person was that came and decked him.
That was
breast knuckles.
That was manager Jeff, who's Logan Paul's manager, and he's been Logan Paul's manager ever since he started out, when he was 18. So they are he's basically the only person who has stuck by Logan Paul's side. So I actually did like that. That was a very unique shout to me, but
fair
they
enough.
didn't explain it to wrestling fans, did they?
No, it was so you say his name. I was just thinking of that meme. My name's Jeff. Yeah, they didn't explain it. I was surprised he didn't get stopped like how Gronkowski got stopped at Mania, because he just came out of nowhere and he just disappeared into the ether. I expected he needed to get a win at some way somehow, and the little camera work they did with Samantha Irvin, and she was having the little trembling lip. But yeah, it was great. Nice way to start the night, and I've got no complaints, man. It delivered. That's all I can say.
I will agree with that one. It was a very fun opener for SummerSlam. However, then we then moved on to a feud which we've been talking about on this show for months and months. At times we've hated it, at times we've loved it. And quite frankly, a lot of the time we have criticized it. And this is Cody Rhodes versus Brock Lesnar. But I love this. I really, really did. This was the match which I expected it to be. It was the match which I wanted it to be. I thought they told a brilliant story. In fact, it was one of the best stories that Brock Lesnar's told in a WWE ring ever, in my opinion. He wanted Cody to just, get counted out on the outside. He didn't want to cause any more damage to him, but Cody would not give up. We talked about on this show, in the last week or so, originally, Bubba on Busted Open Radio, he was talking about this feud, and he said, well, what happens if Brock Lesnar ends up, putting Cody over by, shaking his hand, lifting his arm up. But he was on about that near WrestleMania, right? Near a potential feud between Cody and Roman Reigns. Then last week on the show, Clark added to that point, and he said, well, hang on here. How about, Brock Lesnar trains Cody Rhodes to go against Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. Brock Lesnar helps Cody Rhodes do what he couldn't do and beat the tribal chief Roman Reigns and break and end the historic championship reign. I'd love that story, and I think it might just be happening, because once Cody won this match, and it was an absolute war, but Cody did in the end get the victory, Brock Lesnar took his gloves off and put Cody Rhodes' hands in the air. They shook hands. He put Cody's hands in the air. It was a fantastic moment. I can't remember. I don't think Brock's ever done that in WWE. He really, really put Cody over. Great moment. And now Cody, coming out of this feud, is more over than he has ever been. There's no doubt about that at all. I love this. I really did. Now, Clark, you've been critical of this feud at times, but in the last few weeks, where you've kind of flipped on it. Well, what did you think about this match?
Oh, I loved it. I absolutely loved. This was by far the best of the three. Not really close. I will address the steel steps thing. I'll say this. I wish that they might have explained it better, but in my eyes, the way I look at it, you can blame referees' discretion. You can blame whatever you want. Brock Lesnar's got a history of attacking referees. What kind of referee wants to DQ a Brock match? So you let it go, right?
Good point.
It's one of those things that, yeah. I mean, are you in the stripes going to be the guy that rings the bell on Brock? No, that's not a good idea. And so I was okay with it. Did I love that they used that spot? Not necessarily. Did I think the match needed it? Not necessarily. At the end of the day, the story is what this whole thing is about, and I love it. I mentioned the Rocky parallels, and it doesn't have to be exact, right? I don't think Roman will be the Apollo Creed for Cody.
Yeah.
But Brock could be. Brock could be the Apollo, and that would make sense because Roman really is a little bit more like Clubber Lang or even a Drago type character as far as a villain is concerned. And so I think it did its job as well as it could, and I love that Brock wrestled that long of a match.
Yeah.
That shows you how dedicated to not only this storyline he was, but to really, really, really putting over Cody Rhodes. And that is not to be overlooked because Brock Lesnar does not, when he does it as well as anybody in the business, but he doesn't do it often.
Yeah, it's absolutely, I do agree with your point there. And also you spoke about that DQ, or what should have been a DQ in a lot of people's eyes. I mean, referee discretion, I don't mind referee's discretion in wrestling, but when it's explained well, it was not explained well.
At all.
It wasn't. It really, really wasn't. And referee's discretion usually isn't a thing in WWE at all.
Can I also just say, apparently the handshake was actually Triple H actually said at the post presser that handshake was actually unplanned. So Brock,
he's also known to completely lie out of his teeth in these press conferences, though, to be honest.
Yeah, too. But I mean, like, if anyone can get away with it, it will be Brock. That's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah,
and Cody needs that kind of rub as well. And that also, if anything, that also adds the to the possible match that's going to happen at WrestleMania. However, they're going to go through it. I don't think he's going to train him. Like, Cody doesn't need that. He's got the power of America, so he doesn't need Brock Lesnar to train him to beat Roman. But that's not why I believe. That's how they kind of put it in our eyes. But yeah, that's how I just feel. It was just quite hilarious. They kind of went off script. It wouldn't surprise me if he did.
Yeah. No, I mean, I respect to Brock if he did, to be honest with you. Maybe he was listening to Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast and just loved the idea that much that he was like, oh, I'm going off the script.
Coors Lights on me, Brock, if that's the case. Coors Lights on Clark. I got you, man.
Oh, that would be excellent. But
yes,
I'm
mic'd up and everything.
It was a brilliant spot. I would just love it if, to get over that line to, really show that he's improved over last year. Brock does just help Cody. And like you said, Clark, it's not an exact replica of any specific Rocky film, but it's taken elements from them all and then putting it all together as its own thing in Philadelphia. I'm in. I truly am. I'm all in. But
wrong company.
Well, we'll all be all in a couple of weeks as well, hopefully.
There
but
we go.
No,
I might even be all out.
Oh, okay. Clark's doing them both. Ooh. But let's now move on and let's talk about the Slim Jim Battle Royale. Now, I've defended this because, well, very, very simply, WWE, they're a company. They need to earn money, and this match is going to earn them a lot of money and get a lot of people on the card who otherwise would not have been featured. I've also gone on the record time and time again and said I don't like battle royales. I don't. It's my hot take in wrestling, but I've just never been a fan of them, and I don't think I ever will be. This one was fine. It was a bit fun, at times a bit cringy, but all battle royals always are in my eyes. But the most important thing, about it is that LA Knight won. And when it came down to LA Knight and Sheamus in the last two, I didn't think he was going to. I was like, well, LA Knight beat him on SmackDown, so now Sheamus is going to win too. We've seen it a million times before. And what happened? They shocked us all. LA Knight, got the victory, and I'm very, very happy about that. We got a comment here from David Sheldon. over on YouTube saying this match made 70% of the roster and it looked rubbish. Poor JD McDonough, poor Apollo Crews. Glad LA Knight won, though. The ending was fun. I'll agree with that. But again, in all battle royals, some people look bad. That's why I don't really like them. But I'm not going to go into a rant about this now. I'm glad LA Knight won. But Coby, as the reviewer, what did you think about this?
At the end of the day, like, obviously it's the match you're not going to have a lot of expectations for. We know how battle royals go. We know that they start off, okay, there's whatever, 20-some people in the ring. It was 24 was announced, and then 25 was Mr. Omos. That was just funny. At the end of the day, I mean, like, it's what we expected it to be. Like, the first half of it was, okay, the people are getting thrown out of it to get thrown out of it. And then it was like, okay, once there's less, we can kind of get into things. I really liked a lot of the stuff. Like, we saw Miz and Waller do like a skull crushing finale and rolling flatliner. Like, there was a lot of just actual cool spots in its entirely. I really liked the Santos elimination. That, like, we always see the Hurricane Rana, but it was almost like a reverse Rana. I can't remember who he did it to. But there's a lot of good spots. I mean, like, keep in mind, like you said, a lot of people looked bad. You know, someone who didn't look great in the match was Austin Theory, and he's a United States champion. Does that matter? No, necessarily it doesn't. It's a match that, like you said, it's going to get people on the card. There's not much more you can complain about. The match, what it was for what it wasn't, it actually wasn't the worst match of the show either. I thought it was actually, for having low expectations, just as it's being a battle royal, it was not the worst match of the show. There were a few other bad ones, but other than that, I thought it was fine. It was good for what it was.
I'll agree with that as well. Not super newsworthy, but for a battle royale that earned the company a lot of money, I'm all good with it. Absolutely. But hey, Clark hit one. I thought, Clark, this is the longest we've ever gone in a segment about LA Knight without you hitting. I mean,
honestly, I feel guilty. Like, I love our good buddy David Sheldon, but he chose violence last night. I enjoyed the match a little bit more.
God dang.
Oh, it was fine for what it was. I can see both arguments. I truly can. I'm just not a battle royale guy myself. But now let's move on to MMA rules as Shayna Baszler took on Ronda Rousey. And this match really fell flat. It really did. The crowd were chanting boring. The rest of the crowd went for a toilet break. You just saw people just flooding out. And it was quite sad, as they did a really good job, actually, on Raw this week of building it up with those promo packages between the two women. So they built it well. But the reality is people just don't care enough about these two. Also, I said it on the show last week. MMA rules, is that really going to translate to a wrestling crowd, especially a stadium wrestling crowd? I said I didn't think it would, and guess what? It didn't. There was also an entire mess with the MMA rules thing, which I'm sure Clark will get into in just a second. We got number one Superfly over on YouTube saying the MMA rules sucked, and I can't disagree with you. I think there was a very, very, very simple solution for this. I really do. And I think that solution was to have this in a fight pit. And that isn't just me trying to overuse that stipulation, right? If they did it in a fight pit, that would have, made people care about it a bit more because, well, people care about things. People love, good stipulation like a steel cage, a fight pit, a Hell in a Cell. They make people care about those matches more. So I think the crowd would just been, they wouldn't have chanted boring as much if it was in a fight pit, even though it'd be pretty much, a similar thing. But Clark, you've got experience in MMA. You've got experience grappling. What did you think about the MMA rules match between Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey?
Well, okay. For one, I totally agree about the fight pit stipulation. I think that was the route that made the most sense in this one. There was it's a shame because I think there was a lot of actually good in this match and in this rivalry, but it never really felt like it had a chance. I think if you do have to book inside of the box of MMA rules, the route that I would have gone is have Ronda attack Shayna before the match and then just and get the better of the exchange. we finally get him in the ring, start the MMA rules match, and then you don't have to follow the full MMA rules for more time, right? Than just the pre-match beatdown, because Shayna Baszler lands the Masvidal Askren knee and it's lights out, and then provide a moment that way. Because I was really bothered, if you're going to do MMA rules, they can't exit the ring. The fight's over. If it's MMA rules inside of a ring and they leave the ring, the fight's over. And that really bothered me more than the steps in the Brock match. More than the steps in the Brock and Cody match. Leaving the ring, that's not MMA rules. It's just a knockout submission match at this point. And the knockout thing, like, the referee in an MMA rules match can't really actually get between the two for ground and pound scenarios and things like that. And that happened multiple times throughout the match. That bothered me. And I think that's why the way I would have booked it is Masvidal Askren at the end of the day. And then kind of get out of there and get on with it.
Yeah. That make that would make a lot of sense, and that would make for a big moment, just seeing Shayna get beat up by Ronda, like you said, on the way to the ring, and then for Shayna, as soon as the bell rings, to just knock her out with a kick or something like that. That would have been great. We've got Guild in the comments saying it was one of the worst matches they've ever seen. But Chaos, I know you wanted to add something about this match, so what was your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, what I was gonna say was.
What was he going to say?
Oh, no, there's a bit of an internet issue. It seems, hopefully.
Hello?
We'll get... Hey, he's back. He's back, is he?
Yeah, there we go. I'm back alive. All right, don't know what happened there. Sorry, yeah. What I was going to say, you pretty much echoed already. So it was just basically, it was definitely a loss in translation, how you're going to convey this MMA rules match in a wrestling capacity that people are just there for WWE for sports entertainment, not just pure sport. And it just, that definitely just made it fall flat. I don't think it wasn't the fact that no one cared for this route, this rivalry, because it definitely built up due to the video packages and stuff that really brought my interest a bit higher. But yeah, it was just a bit tricky to convey this this type of style of match in sports entertainment. Obviously it's trial and error, I understand that, but yeah, I agree, they probably should have done the fight pit, because even though the Seth and Riddle match, not many people as fans watching from TV didn't really enjoy it as much. The crowd was very hot for that. So you had Daniel Cormier there, a special guest referee and everything like that. I felt like the crowd was very into it, and obviously you got the Bray Wyatt debut coming return and stuff. So yeah, if they did it that way, and probably doing it as a straight knockout, because everyone wants to see Rowdy get her ass whooped, like for it to be ridden out of the company. So I think doing a Masvidal versus Askren one-hit knee knockout thing situation would have been viable instead of this drab submission that happened at the end. So shout out to our attire as well. I was for 2 seconds I was like, how are they getting away with that? Because that's the actual UFC's logo, and I was like, oh yeah, the buyout. Oh yeah, cool, fair enough. When they're merging the companies together. So that was a nice little taste, nice little taste on a little spin on that. But yeah, it was cool. But the match, it should have been in the fight pit. That's what I wanted to say. Yeah, definitely.
Although, did you notice it was the WWE? It said WWE in the UFC font.
That's what I meant. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I was like, how did they?
That was the cool part. It was it said WWE in the UFC font, and then same with on the sides. It was really cool. That was well thought.
That is brilliant. I didn't even actually clock that.
No, very cool. I kind of also wish, if they're gonna do the MMA fight thing, that they'd have honestly. This is a weird thing, but like barefoot, because that's MMA.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like having the boots on seemed a little bit like
all over the place.
Yeah.
No, that's a great point,
right? Just a little thing you could have done, because they wore the gloves at least, so that was a nice aesthetic, right? Like, and the gloves look cool on both, I thought, right? Like, that was at least on par. But
with it as well is the fact that they kept breaking. You touched on it, Clark. They kept breaking it up, and that really slowed down the momentum of it.
Yeah,
and that's how the crowd were out of it from the start. Let's be real about it. But I think that took everyone further out of it as well. We got Matt Williams saying he didn't like it. I mean, I
plain and simple.
I think we all agree on that, by the way. Like,
Clark went into it.
I just wish it could have been. They could have made it really good. I think, or not even really good, but like kind of one of those surprisingly good parts of a show.
Yeah, like Clark, you went into it with a really positive mentality, thinking, this is great and all this. And I thought it was going to be one of those matches where you think it's great, but everyone else, well, a lot of wrestling fans are like, no, but just because it didn't translate well. but this match not only didn't translate well, but it didn't
work
translate well
for
to
me.
either or the WWE audience or the MMA audience. It was just, it was a bit of a disaster.
I mean, I think the biggest thing coming out of it is the fact that what all got us invested in this, at least this match, or what would have happened, was the line from Shayna from Raw saying Ronda Rousey's daughter's not going to forgive me for what I do to Ronda.
Yeah.
And the fact that it was just it was a like, yes, I like the fact that they went like, oh, she's biting the glove and that's how she got it when her arm was attacked. But at the end of the day, this is the Karrion Kross stuff. If you're gonna say you're bringing Doomsday, bring Doomsday. And
I mean,
match.
Even if you want to go fully into it, right?
Gonna happen. Shayna needs to truly mess up Ronda Rousey to get people behind her, to make it not an unfulfilled promise. In that sense.
Absolutely.
I mean, in grappling, the rear naked choke is basically the most humane way to subdue someone, right? Like, it's like the safest way to actually
do the Brody King versus Darby Allin. Do Brody King versus Darby Allin when he was just
make it look violent.
That would have been. That would
have broken the MMA rules again. Chaos, dang it!
Oh, why did they should have done another stipulation? But we can complain about this all day. So let's now move on to something which I don't think any of us are going to be complaining about, and that was Gunther taking on Drew McIntyre for the Intercontinental Championship. And Gunther's reign, his dominant reign as Intercontinental Champion, continues. He's approaching that record now. This was a fantastic match. A couple of spots during this match, I panicked. I was like, is McIntyre going to win? Is Gunther not going to hit that record? Whew, I can take a deep breath. He did, and it was a banger of a bout. I'm putting that phrase out there because I really think it was super fun match. Exactly, what you'd expect from Gunther and McIntyre. So I was a very happy man watching this. But Coby, what was your take?
I mean, that's the thing, is I agree with the statement that you said, and that's what you want out of this match, is you want them to sell you on the idea that this is going to be a title change. I think they did really good, and this is exactly what we expected from these two men. Hard-hitting match. Like, I mean, there's not many people who can make Gunther's chest bleed when Gunther's the one that makes the other's chest bleed from his chops. Gunther's chest looked hurt. Drew looked like he did a number on him. It was a hard-hitting. The chops were great. It was intense. I don't want to say the crowd was there 100%, but the crowd was there for this match a lot more than other matches in the show. And I mean, the biggest thing that like you said, we're going to refer to the watch party a bit. We have already. The biggest thing coming out of this is like, yeah, that was a really good match, but it wasn't as top notch as something like the WrestleMania 3-way or the Clash at the Castle match. This was a really solid Gunther match, and that's what you're always going to get from Gunther when you give him the time he needs to wrestle. But at the end of the day, I don't think, if we're ranking these matches, it's not one of the top few matches that he's had. But it was, like you said, it was a really good match, and it also kind of suffers from just not being one of the big matches that it happens. That happened because, and I mean, we're not going to get into it, but SummerSlam was billing it as 4 main events. I'm not liking it. I understand you want matches to feel big, but when half of your show is main events, that makes no sense. It doesn't.
No, that's a good point.
This match was also suffered from the fact that it had to get the crowd back into it after the MMA rules, quote unquote. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that it kind of suffered from, but it was exactly what we were expecting. A hard-hitting match, not a strong style match, but it was hard hitting. There was power moves. I really liked the splashes Gunther hit, the Claymore kick out. The finish in general was really well done. I think it was a good match. It was a really good match. One of the matches of the night.
I will agree.
A great in-ring match.
I will agree with that, Coby. I certainly will. And we got number one Superfly in the comments on YouTube saying, well, I like Drew versus Gunther. Do you think they should have gotten a few more minutes? I mean, perhaps, I think I mean, certainly I wouldn't have minded that. I don't think anybody would have complained if they did get a couple more minutes, but Matt Williams says he did like the Intercontinental Championship match, but he did not like the MMA rules one. But now let's move on to the match, which I found myself more interested in this next match more than any other match on the card, and that was Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor, purely because there were so many unknowns. I didn't know what was going to happen, and for that reason, I was hooked from the start. A lot of the SummerSlam card was predictable. It really was. This was really not. In the end, it kind of feel like they went for, it was slightly uneventful, I guess, the finish, but I love the match. I thought it was fantastic between Balor and Rollins. I think it's the best match they've had by far. Super fun, super enjoyable. And I do like how Damian Priest didn't just turn on Balor. How, they're making it, long term. There's more tensions between them. There's more cracks. And they're putting paper over cracks all the time, but it's not enough. I'm enjoying the way in which they're going with this feud, with Judgment Day breaking up. I thought the match delivered, but the question is, when is Damian Priest going to cash in? Of course, David said the other day he thinks this should go all the way to Mania when they do Damian Priest versus Finn Balor and Mania for the World Championship. And that's when Balor gets his big moment. However, Balor's now 3 for 37, I believe, in singles action this year. So, oh no. But Chaos, what did you think about this World Heavyweight Championship match?
Boy, I was just like you. I mean, there could have been so many different outcomes for this match. I think this one was one of the least predictable match out of the night. And yeah, I mean, I was digging the little Easter egg that Seth did. He came out in the same attire that he came out for the last match at SummerSlam, his old school attire.
That was great.
I liked Finn's attire as well. I'm definitely going to download that on 2K. That's so what's the status? If you made that already, let me know. So yeah, the match itself was great. Good back and forth. I love how they went back into the Finn did the buckle bomb to or the barricade bomb to Seth at one point. And then at first I was like, I thought the ending was a bit overbooked, like overstuffed, but when upon like watching it back again, I was just like, no, I think it was the right amount. He had again the tease with Damian Priest, because at the end of the day, he wants to keep it. He wants the if Finn can't do it, he wants that Damian could be the one to actually take the title and keep it in Judgment Day and whatnot. But yeah, I think this could have went either way. But I'm not I'm not angry at the fact that Finn didn't win. But yeah, I agree that it looks like they're waiting for the longer, they're doing this on the long term between Finn and Damian. Will it carry on to Mania? I don't know. That's another 8-9 months. That's quite a long way. I don't know if they're gonna do that. But yeah, I love the teases. The match itself was good back and forth. The finish I liked with the stomp on the briefcase. And now obviously Finn is thinking, oh, this is your fault. Why did I go for the briefcase? And then Damian had the disinterested face. It was just like, sorry, bro. Like, you know what I mean? So all in all, yeah, I love it. The twist was great. And yeah, I look forward to see what's going on. I'm still invested in the storyline with all three of those members. Not members, but three of Finn, Damian, and Seth. 100%.
Absolutely. I do hope now, following on from this, Seth does something else for a little while before they then bring it back to the Damian thing. And maybe you just have Damian tease at times or whatever. But I want to see Seth do something which isn't Judgment Day related, because it feels like this storyline's been going on for a while now. And I hope, I really do hope that he moves on from here. And hopefully that will happen now, because we're moving on. We got a new commentary team tomorrow night on Raw, so maybe it's a bit of a new era in WWE on Raw. Let's see. But now let's talk about the women's division. Now let's talk about Asuka, because Asuka defended the WWE Women's Undisputed Championship. It's not actually that. It's just the Women's Championship, although for some reason Undisputed is written on it, against Bianca Belair and Charlotte Flair in a triple threat match. And this, I think, is where I'm going to get some hate. I actually thought this match was pretty bad. I really did. It was very, very sloppy. I love all three women. Belair, Flair, and Asuka are all great. But it's one of those things where sometimes in wrestling, just the chemistry isn't there. Triple threats can be difficult. But there was just so many botches in this. There was so much sloppiness. It got a lot of time, and I'm really happy it got a lot of time. But just something about it didn't really fit well for me. Felt very sloppy. I liked the finish, though. The finish was the one part I did like. Bianca Belair is champion once again. She, of course, had the injury spot during the match. She then came back. That was fun. But it was certainly not one of my favorite matches on this card. But I was surprised when Bianca won back that women's championship. However, it was not for long because Iyo Sky cashed in. And as soon as she cashed in, I was like, well, they made it a big deal this year about how 100% of the women have cashed in successfully. So surely they're not going to do that this year. Well, they did. I was convinced Bayley was going to try and screw Iyo last second or something like that. Nope, Bayley helped her. She won it. Iyo Sky is the new women's champion, and I'm delighted by it. Iyo is somebody who I've watched for years. I watched her in Stardom, and I remember when she was in Stardom, everyone was saying, she's the best women's wrestler in the world. If she was in WWE, she'd be the women's champion. Well, she now finally is, and she can now finally make that statement. It was a lot of fun, this. I absolutely loved it. But Clark, I'm going to go directly to you first. What did you think about it?
I was cool with the cash in for sure. It felt a bit predictable, especially once Bianca had the hurt knee, right? And I agree with you on the botches part. I don't really understand how we had a triple threat with Asuka, Bianca, and Charlotte that wasn't like show stealing off the charts, but it really wasn't until the cash in moment. Thought it was interesting that there was no tease about Bayley and no jealousy yet, because I think that needs to almost be the immediate storyline, not Bianca. Maybe give Bianca some time off right after the knee injury, not necessarily Charlotte right away, but let's go with Bayley now. Pull the trigger on that. Right? They did a year as Damage Control, and it's time to get Bayley back in the main event scene. And I hope they start this week. I guess is where I'm going with that one.
Oh, okay. Wow. So you want them to, have some real drama between them off the bat right now?
Right away. Yeah. Get right into Bayley versus Iyo.
Okay. Well, I mean, that would certainly be interesting, and certainly something which, I'd be interested in. I would like them to just carry it out, though, for a bit longer. Chaos, I can see your reaction. What are you saying?
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. The match was sloppy at best. There was for some reason there's just no chemistry especially between Charlotte and Asuka. There was a lot of mistimings. There was a lot of points where you could tell like they were waiting for someone to come in and do something, but they're just standing there or in an awkward spot waiting for a maneuver to happen. I agree. Maybe they have to tease more going with Iyo and Bayley, but Bayley's already got her hands full with Shotzi, if you really want to call it full. But yeah, she's kind of busy with that right now. So maybe they're gonna ride that for the time being and then revert to Iyo. See, that's how we forgot about the Shotzi beef right now. She's gone for a complete makeover and no one's remembering about that. So yeah, that's where we stand with that. But yeah, she's got to do that. I love the finish though. The finish was great. And if there was anything that could bring Bianca over to the edge, to the dark side, be corrupted, this would be it. This will be it. Like the fact that she overcame adversity with a bust knee, and she won the championship, only for it to get taken away in a 2-on-1 situation, if you will. And she's gonna flip a lid on SmackDown. I just know it. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, I agree. This match, along with the MMA rules match, was you won't remember it. You just remember the end, especially for the triple threat match.
Cash in
But
moment.
I'm happy for Iyo Sky. Yeah, you will just remember for that. But so it was other than that, yeah, it was meh. But yeah, the ending was awesome.
You made a great point about Shotzi as well. I briefly forgot about that, but I mean, on SmackDown, Shotzi was more over than she's been in ages. You've got to have this Bayley Shotzi feud go on for at least the next month now, because that's really putting Shotzi over. Bayley's established already. Bayley can be back in the main event scene tomorrow, and she'll be fine because she's a former champion. She's one of the most well-known names in the division. But long-term, Clark, I absolutely agree with you. Bayley does need to be back in the main event positions and in the main event matches. But I say, well, let's just carry this out for a little bit. Carry things out between Iyo, Sky, and Bayley, and just perhaps drag it until the Rumble. I think that would be a very interesting place to, blow off that feud. But Coby, give me your thoughts on the women's triple threat.
It's not an uncommon kind of opinion here. Obviously I was watching this elsewhere. I went to a different room to watch kind of the last few matches, and it was like this match it felt slow, and it took an injury angle to get the crowd invested, and that's kind of the biggest point I want to say, or not nail hard or nail down. But that's what it felt like. It felt like they cared about Charlotte because Charlotte's the name. Bianca was getting good spots, but at the end of the day, until Bianca almost got hurt, got quote unquote hurt, whether it's real or not, that's what kind of got the crowd into it. Then it was like, okay, then Charlotte and Asuka were almost flipped the switch and were able to work well together. It was just a weird match, and it shouldn't have been it should have been that show-stealing match that we can say, oh, that was a phenomenal match. This was one of the weakest matches of the show, and we had a battle royal as one of the main matches. The biggest thing I want to talk about is surrounding the cash-in is something that's happened within the last 2 months. Is Zelina Vega's gone 2-up against Iyo Sky. I think I don't want to say that's going to be a future rivalry, but that's going to be something that happens on the next week or two, that there's going to be a title match that Iyo can win. But I think that's another thing that, I don't want to say people forget, but Zelina Vega has wins over the new champion right now. And that's kind of a neat thing that they can throw in. Obviously, Bayley and Shotzi is going to continue. Obviously, Bianca can go more heel, and I like the fact that they're going that route because we saw their match at Backlash, and Iyo was the clear favorite, and now she can be the clear favorite if Bianca goes more, I don't want to say more to the dark side, but more to that heel side. And I don't know. I think I'm more excited about the post, what can come from compared to what this match actually was.
No, that is a very fair point about it. I'll agree with that as well. And you made a good point about Zelina Vega. She beat Iyo Sky this week. It's one of those things. They always have their women's champions lose, don't they? Not women's champions, sorry. Their Money in the Bank winners lose right before they cash in. They've always done it.
Even Edge lost the night that he cashed in.
And so did Rollins as well. He lost to Orton before then he cashed in and, did the Heist of the Century at Mania 31. They just love the Money in the Bank winners to lose right before they win. But let's head to the comment section. And Number One Superfly says, I can agree. There was a lot of botches for a triple threat match. Also, does that mean Bianca has the shortest reign thus far? Yes, she does. I think she does. Yeah, it's shortest women's match in SummerSlam history and longest women's match in SummerSlam history happened in that 21-minute period, which is quite funny. We got Gil just saying it was sloppy, but saying it was pretty bad is too harsh. I was on about the botches and all of that being pretty bad, the chemistry between them rather than the match itself. Yes. But we've also got David saying he feels like he enjoyed this more than most people. Sloppy, but he did have a lot of fun with it. Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I actually thought when I was first watching this with you, David, that maybe I was just being too harsh about it. But after rewatching it, no, I'm still being that harsh about it. The chemistry just wasn't there. It was sloppy. And it was a bit disappointing in terms of that. When you got 3 women as good as these 3 women, you expect it to be better. But now let's move on and let's talk about the bloodline. Let's talk about the main event. Let's talk about main event Jey Uso. Let's talk about still the tribal chief and still the head of the table, Roman Reigns, because he defended not only his position of tribal chief, but also the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship at SummerSlam against Jey Uso in a tribal combat match. And we all said heading in, the stipulation should have been better. It should have been it was basically just a no DQ match, wasn't it? And that was meh. The match itself, it started slow. It did start slow. I'll agree with people's criticism about that. But I thought it picked up the pace, and I thought it was very entertaining as it went on. I never fully believed that Roman was going to lose. But you can put Roman basically against anyone right now, apart from maybe Cody. Cody's the only person in the company who, if he challenged Roman, I could be like, okay, well, maybe he'll win this time. Everybody else you put against him, I don't believe it. So they did what they did. I thought it was a good match. I thought it was done well. And then right at the end, well, Clark Taylor called it, didn't he? Because Jimmy Uso was actually Roman Reigns' right-hand man, and he took out Jey Uso. He screwed his twin, Jey Uso, rolled him in the ring. Roman finished him off. 1, 2, 3. Roman is still the WWE Undisputed Universal Champion. The absolute betrayal, the ultimate betrayal. I thought this was done well. I'm now interested to see where this goes. I don't believe everybody's criticism saying, oh, they're just now looking at ways to continue this story. When in this story have they just gone a certain way for no reason to just go that way? They haven't. Paul Heyman is the main person booking the storyline. Everything that he's doing is intentional in it, right? It annoyed me, the internet's uproar about this, saying, oh, it makes no sense. It made perfect sense. It did. They just need to now explain it and make sure that, it makes sense going onwards about it. Clark called it yesterday. He also called it, he called it on the prediction show, but he also called it a few weeks back as well when we were talking about what the decision for Jey was going to be. He called it then too. This wasn't something which was, a huge, just unbelievable moment whatsoever to me. Chaos, I'm going to head to you first. What did you think about the main event?
Oh, man, yes, there's quite a bit to unpack on this. First off, I was actually surprised by the uproar. I've seen people say like, "Oh, they've jumped the shark," or "This is WCW booking at at their word like their later years and whatnot." When this happened, I was surprised and not surprised at the same time, because they were laying this out for weeks on SmackDown. They kept on, every time there was a segment between Jey, Paul, and Roman, they just kept saying like, the reason Jimmy is not here is because of you, Jey. It's because of you. It's because of you. It's because of you. It's because of you. And it was just echoing. And it was just like they was setting this up for weeks that if they did go down that route, Jimmy was going to be the one to just turn heel, and they're going to run this brother versus brother thing. Oh, hello, Kitty. So yeah, it's
we've had 5 days in a row on this show now, at least 5 days in a row. Not Thursday. Every day when I've hosted for like the last week, we've had a cat run-in.
We've had 5 consecutive cat run-ins. We've had cat run-ins.
Yesterday. This has become the cat show.
I got to get Zuzu involved. Got to get the dogs involved.
Yeah, just even it out. But yeah, that's the twist. I was like, when it happened, I was like, oh wow, they're actually gonna go down this route like so soon as well. But yeah, I was just like, it sets up for what's probably going to happen at Payback. I don't think they're going to run this all the way to Mania, even though they have said themselves they would like to face each other at a Mania. But I think they're gonna do this at Payback, and see what happens down there. But I did say, like, we did say numerous times, Jey Uso, logically, should be the person to dethrone Roman, but we just didn't see him as to be the person. He doesn't seem the person to be the next tribal chief, the next champion. So it was just like it's perfectly right now, more than ever, it's set up for Cody to dethrone Roman at WrestleMania. But the match itself was good, like you said. It was definitely just a standard DQ match. I loved. I think when you guys said about you want to have the family member, the elders, and everyone around the ring surrounding it, no ropes, just a brawl kind of thing, and like blood sport type of thing. That would have made it just give it that aesthetic, and just that feeling that this is unique, this is different. But it was just a standard no DQ match. But for what it was, I'm still loving this the storyline, and I'm excited to see what's his actual reason, because we can come up with number of reasons why he's doing this, but I'm looking forward to SmackDown 110%.
Absolutely. I mean, we're invested again. Every time we think we're out, they pull us back in. And that's, again, like, this was deliberate. There was blatantly, a plan for this as well. And if the elders was, surrounding the ring, and then suddenly, Jimmy comes out from under it and screws Jey, that would have actually felt more, impactful. I actually think doing it that way. I think the execution of it maybe was slightly off. But Clark, give me your thoughts on this one.
So I loved the match. And it's funny, looking back, we talk about the storyline. I did not understand the backlash in the least, and especially from people who I least expected it from. I think there were some nuggets along the way that even made it easier for myself to make that prediction. Of course, everyone loves to be right, and I enjoyed that. As when I saw Jimmy, I was like, oh, I called it. That's as fun as it gets in wrestling, right? Whether it was well executed or not, I thought it was, because if you go back and look at Jay's exit from the bloodline, he actually turns to Jimmy and says, "You're out," first, and then says, "I'm out too." What gives Jay that authority over his brother? His older brother? Of course Jimmy's jealous. I mean, he even Jay mentioned his own jealousy about Jimmy being the prom king, being voted most likely to succeed, his football accolades. That storyline, that's my favorite thing about the bloodline storyline, and that aspect of it is the nuggets along the way. They gave us that one. It was right in front of our eyes.
And also he was jealous. He also was jealous about him being picked to being the right-hand man as well. He admitted that. He said, like, "Are you sure he's the right one?" So yeah, they left nuggets here. You're right.
They absolutely gave us hints along the way, and I have no problem with the execution. I mean, it may be predictable because you think that Roman Reigns is going to carry this belt for a long time, but it doesn't mean it's not great storytelling. I can't tell you how many times you watch your favorite TV show, what's going to happen. You're still rooting for the character you like, the babyface on that show. Yeah. But guess what? You'll tune in next week, won't you?
Absolutely, you will.
Storyline has been as good as anything. As good as anything.
I really can't help but agree. I agree with what both of you guys have you said about it. And Clark, you mentioned little things that you've told along the way. Chaos even mentioned it when Roman was trying to persuade Jay to not leave like Jimmy was. He was saying to Jay, oh, Jimmy didn't want you to be the right hand man, and all of that stuff. I mean, who knows? Maybe all of that was a setup. Maybe Jay left because Roman was unsure about Jay's loyalty after the Sami Zayn stuff. And maybe all of this all along has been a test for Jay, and Jay failed. Or maybe it was all legit, and then just Jimmy realized that, hang on a second, it's not Roman who's taking the spotlight off me. It's actually Jay who is.
Did Roman ever officially kick Jimmy out, or was it Jay that said, "You're out and I am too"?
No, it was never official. Jimmy was the one who, kicked himself out, I guess.
Yeah. Well, no, Jay kicked him out. Yeah. Jay said spoke on his behalf.
Yeah, he did.
Right? Yeah. I mean, that layer in and of itself is, and you have to have the match to have the forum to tell that story. So while it's predictable that Roman Reigns is going to eventually go over in that match, to have the platform to tell the story, you have to have the main event match.
Mm-hmm.
And it was still a high quality main event match.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was.
Started off slow, but it built up perfectly. I loved it. It was good.
Yeah, and I mean, and Guild on the comments on YouTube is agreeing with that take, Chaos, saying the last third of the match was fantastic. The rest was just a bit slow, a bit boring.
I would even agree with that. I would agree with that. It was slow out of the gates.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching it obviously live in the UK, so it was about 4:30 in the morning. So I don't know if I'd watch it back now because I haven't rewatched that match. I don't know if I'd think it's any better, but it did feel very slow at the beginning of it. I can't help but agree with that.
I think what they were
going.
Sorry, I think what they were trying to do is repeat what they did during the Thunderdome, and it's kind of tricky to do that with a live crowd. That's true. Well, when you have the Thunderdome, that was actual cinema. Like this is definitely nowhere as good as their first 3 matches. Don't get me wrong, but I think that's what they're trying to do at the beginning, and they were just like, all right, screw it, let's just go ho at the end, and then that's what happened. Yeah, that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, that's a great point, Chaos, because I mean, I said it at the time, I didn't think when they started this tribal chief character of Roman Reigns, right? I don't think it would have gotten over as much if there were crowds at that time. I think it was the fact that they let the character develop with, no audience, and they could, really take things slow and really build it. I thought that was amazing. I thought it was the perfect thing. The best thing coming from that era. And I think it was the perfect era for it, ironically, as well. And then as soon as crowds came back, he was over as anything. And now you're just going on this, monster title reign with this character. I don't think people realize how hard this will ever be to do anything like this again. Like
not in our lifetime.
It's perfect. No. It's perfect things just lining up, and people are finding a way to complain about it at times. It really does feel like that. We got David here in the comments saying they have 1 week to win me over, because I'm not. Come on, David. Right? I mean, I agree with a lot of your takes. They've won us over for 3 years. You can't in one spot be, when everything's so intense on all of this, in one spot be like, they have 1 week to win me over now. They've built this storyline for 3 years now. 3 years.
Give it a 1 week deadline. Yeah, that's a bit much, David. I'm sorry, but
not enough time.
That's a bit salty, David. I'm sorry. That's a bit salty, but fair enough.
I'm not wrong, you mate. It is 3. It's 3 years now. Yes, it's 3 years. That's craziness as well. Yeah. 3 whole years they've been building up this story. And David saying, no, they haven't. We're going backwards. We're not going backward. They've told it. It all makes sense. They've left Clark said it best. They've left the nuggets this entire way. Like, they've left these Easter eggs. It's not like it's completely random the direction they're going in. They've had this plan. They wrote this story out a long, long time ago. I mean, Clark, you want to add to that?
I think, for me, and I enjoy going back to the Sammy part of the story. Right? They haven't gone backwards. Sami Zayn was wearing the old Bloodline shirts. Then he got the new shirt. Then that arc was great. The little aesthetics, the lay, Roman Reigns' laying in the ring a few weeks back. The distraction of him holding back Solo on the initial attack on Jay. So you forget that Jay and Jimmy's not there after that beatdown, but Jay's the one that told Jimmy he's out.
Yeah.
How can Jay still be? He said, I'm out too, and kicked him. And they teamed up, but he's decided on his older brother's behalf.
Yeah.
I mean, that's right there in front of us.
And he decided he was the one who was going to get the title shot as well. He was the one who, when he first, when they won that match, it was Jey Uso celebrating. He was the one who, took that victory. It was him celebrating.
He's calling himself main event. He's calling himself main event. He's calling himself the real chief. I mean,
Jimmy's the one that
himself over.
Jimmy's the one that laid out Roman in the tag match before tagging his brother in to hit the Uso splash.
And did Jay thank him for that?
Nope, no, probably not.
No. I mean, at least, on TV it didn't at all. I mean, we got Guild in the comment saying they're enjoying every moment of the Tribal Chief and Bloodline storyline. And Numero 1 Superfly is saying the Bloodline story has been fantastic. We're going to look back on this storyline, guys. I'm telling you right now, we're going to look back in this storyline and be like, oh, why did we complain? It was so, so perfect. In fact, we're not even going to say the why did we complain bit. We're going to look back and say, oh, it was so, so perfect. Yeah. And then you go back and watch all these podcasts, right?
I'm gonna shed a tear every time when they say 10 years from now, I'm gonna be like, I was alive.
10 years from no, it absolutely is. I mean, I think WrestleMania 40 with Cody, I think that's personally how I'd end it, the Rocky storyline. Yeah. But we've spoken at length about all of that, and we don't have time to get into any more of it today because we're coming to the end of our show, guys. We've had tons of viewers today. Thank you so much to everybody who's tuned in live on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. We love all of you. If you're on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you can watch us every single day here on Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast. If you're on Twitter, a retweet would be absolutely lovely. If you're on demand on Spotify, an audio-only listener, then a cheeky 5-star review would go a long way in helping us. And then finally, over on Twitch, that follow, it helps us so much. We're here every day for you guys. We'll be back here tomorrow, the same time, to review Collision. Thank you, Chaos. Thank you, Clark. And thank you to Coby as well, the super producer. We will see you guys tomorrow. Enjoy your evening.